Like now.
Like now.
Yeah.
Good
evening.
Whoa!
We've been practicing that
We
one.
have all evening.
Yeah. No. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Aderans UK Live. We're back with you this week, myself and Bradley, and it's all about layers this week.
It is, and it might be misleading and sound like we're going to talk about the number of layers we've got on, jumpers, t-shirts, coats. It's not actually that cold out there tonight.
It's really warm in here, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Hawaiian tropicking, aren't we?
We are. Yeah, it's very warm, very sticky tonight, I think. Yeah.
It's a weird one. But we're actually talking about layered haircuts, which, if you remember a few weeks back, we looked at London Fashion Week, didn't we? And there was a lot of really dynamic kind of looks coming through the catwalk, with lots of layers, lots of texture.
Yep.
Natural evolution of that, obviously, is a layered haircut.
A layered haircut. But layers have never left us.
No.
We're a couple of generations apart. Not that we look it, of course.
No. I don't know which way this is going.
But when we started talking about layers earlier on this evening, when we sat down talking, I automatically went back to all the layers of the 70s. And Bradley automatically went back to all the layers of what was popular in the actual 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we both went to completely different decades, which was quite an interesting thing without even any prompting, wasn't it? It was just two different ones. But then when you actually look at images from both of those decades and the images now we're in the 2020s, they're all very, very similar.
Absolutely. It kind of happens on a loop, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you know the terrifying thing? People talk about the 90s now and they say, oh yeah, vintage.
Really?
How terrifying is that?
That is vintage already.
Already. It's crazy.
Oh, my ear is going to stop being antique soon then, isn't it?
Ancient relics.
Not quite, but almost. Maybe next year we might get to that one. Yeah.
But yeah, the 90s, you know, I'm a 90s baby myself, but I remember the early 2000s, the late 90s, a lot of the people that we kind of looked up to and what was cool, what was popular. There was a lot of layers and really jagged haircuts and things going on.
It was really chipped into and really rather than, I mean, nowadays texture is a lot softer. It's a lot more refined, but I think back in the 90s, it was really quite chopped into that hair, wasn't it? To give you that kind of chunky look and that texture.
Absolutely.
As well.
And what was your reference point, just out of curiosity, from the 70s? What kind of things and people did you...
Well, I mean, automatically when I thought of layers and layered cuts, I went straight thinking the feather cut, which was kind of very kind of short on the top of these long layers, real feathery all around the neck and the sides, which was really nice. And then you had, of course, the infamous shag haircut, which with that lovely, if you've got lovely curly hair, you had those really nice even layers, so your curls were just beautiful. And even if your hair was quite straight, it was a really good cut, just ruffled your hair to dry and it always looked really good. So I kind of immediately went straight back in my mind to those haircuts. But also went back to thinking of like different people as well. Yeah. Who were kind of quite inspirational there, or their hair was. And some of them still actually look really good today as well, isn't it?
Well, it's like when we looked at the catwalk presentations from this autumn-winter collection, or spring-summer really, isn't it? Because you're always a season ahead.
Season next year.
The shag haircut was so big. Moving on from like the mullet into that, different variations, the texture, all of the really cut into layers.
Cut into layers again. And I think it's the whole thing with fashion though, isn't it? Everything evolves.
Of course,
Clothes, when you look at kind of texture, you look at clothes, you look at colours, those styles do just evolve really and they actually come back in, but there's just a little twist to it.
Yeah.
Somebody just does something a little bit different to make it look fresh.
Absolutely.
And that's what you need, isn't it? Just that fresh kind of look.
Yeah.
With different things every time.
My reference point from the 90s was the Rachel.
Yeah.
The Jennifer Aniston, the Rachel haircut.
Of course, yeah.
Which was huge. That was like a cult haircut right there.
Everybody wanted it.
Everyone wanted it. But
even if their hair didn't suit it, they wanted it.
They tried it. I mean, you have with that the blow dry element, which helps as well. You really have to shape the hair with that kind of look. I think that was the difference with the 90s to the 70s.
I think it was quite high maintenance.
Really high maintenance.
To actually keep that look. Whereas back in the 70s, you'd have like that shag haircut and you could just ruffle your hair and that's how it looked, and it still looked great.
Which works.
Yeah.
It works for me, that kind of thing. You know? Low maintenance.
Low maintenance. But still looks good.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. Still
I think
looks good.
that's a lot of the styles we've had coming through. We look at new pieces from the Noriko collection, even with those, just the texture and how they're cut. There's little nods in there with the face kind of framing layers and things that we've seen come back through.
Yeah, because I think sometimes when you're talking layers, you kind of assume that you've got to have long hair to have your hair layered. But it's not the case, is it, really? If you can have quite short hair, and when we actually look at the pixie cut that has been, again, that's evolved. That's really, really popular. That was really popular in the 90s, that kind of haircut. But nowadays, again, lots of people and lots of celebs are having that short haircut. But you've got those soft layers to it. You can have them just framing your face as well, cutting it quite short into the neck, but having that softness as well. So again, that works really well. And then, of course, probably one of the most famous people from your era in the 90s would be the late Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Very short, layered haircut.
Very layered haircut, actually, when I think about it.
Very layered. All those beautiful blonde highlights, wasn't it? And just blow dried out with that round brush, so she had all that bounce and all that lift and body to it.
That's something I will say, actually, about all of the layered cuts. The ones that are big that you remember, they're very centered on making the face look good.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of the highlights put around the face to really bring out your features and make you look really quite aesthetically pleasing. And that's been a big thing. We had about 5 years ago what they called hair strobing. So it was putting lighter pieces around the face that were very gradual to highlight your features, and it's
and
all linked, isn't it?
It is all linked because, I mean, at the moment, really popular at the moment. Obviously, we've gone through the stage where a lot of people have been doing the balayage colours, which again is still popular, but it's kind of phasing out slowly, I think, at the moment. But we're talking about baby lights now all the time. Everybody wanting these little baby lights. So we're talking really fine highlights. Yeah. So we're going back again to the kind of work in hairdressing work that you saw in the 70s and through the 80s, where it was very delicate colouring. And then with the 90s, it got a lot more kind of power and a lot more exciting.
Do you remember the chunky highlights?
Yeah.
The stripes, that
just wasn't a look, was it?
No, I don't think it will ever be a look.
Yeah,
that's I hope it doesn't come back.
Yeah, that's one look that shouldn't actually come back at all, really.
But Jane, do you want to talk about some of the styles we've got behind us? Because I think these are really good representations of what we've been talking about.
They are really, and they're all current styles as well with us, which is quite kind of amazing when we've been going through the decades and looking at different styles. The one at the back, which is the little pinky tinge one, is called the Max. And that's from the High Fashion collection. And it's called the Watermelon.
Yeah.
The colour is watermelon. Again, if you look at that kind of soft curl and wave pattern on the top, you can almost flick it back on the top. And it is kind of representative of almost the 90s and that Lady Di kind of look.
Yeah, it is.
But you can also bring that forward, and those very soft layers, it just frames the actual face. And it accentuates somebody's cheekbones as well. Or if you've got a slightly rounder face, it would actually give you those cheekbones. So I think little short styles like that, and with that little bit of soft movement and curl into it, it works really well. And with that, you can keep it onto the face. You can take it away from the face by using products. So I think the Max works really well for quite a short one. And then in front of the Max, we've actually got the Breezy Waves, which is beautiful in the frozen sapphire. And again, I think you've just got that very soft but quite a uniform layer to it. So it's not too kind of chunky, the layers. They're very softly layered through. And you've got that nice little fringe. And Really short bangs at the moment, or really short fringes, are really quite popular and fashionable. Again, they were a big thing back in the actual 90s. And with a look like that, with the breezy waves, you can always take that fringe a lot shorter as well if you wanted to. So you're really kind of bang on trend with that kind of short fringe look.
Well, I think that's the key thing, that one of the take homes from this tonight is that you can really adapt with very minor sort of layers around the face.
Very small changes.
Yeah, they're never huge. I mean, I'm just going to make this all about me now, but I'm not someone that's ever had a lot of hair. I've got very fine hair. And the idea of having layers is not something I'd ever done, because if you cut it blunt, it looks thicker. Until it was Zara, actually, who manages our social media. She said, get some layers next time you have your haircut, would you?
Good, Zara.
And I walked in and I said, can I have some layers or something? And they were like,
or something.
Yeah, sure. And it's looked completely different.
It gives your hair, especially with someone with fine hair, and I think it is that kind of question that people do ask. If I've got really fine hair, can I actually have layers? Yeah, you can, because it's going to give you that volume, it's going to give you that lift and that little bit of texture. Instead of your hair just hanging straight down.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So if you haven't got a lot of hair to work with, it's a good way to kind of experiment and look for creating a little bit more lift and volume in what you have got.
And I think even if you're, for those people who are wearing wigs as well, and it's not their own bio hair, and they're thinking what kind of changes can they make, it might be that you're wearing a very classic bob, but all length one bob.
Yeah.
Have a few layers put through it, have it texturized slightly, and it just make that fibre move a little bit more for you. So you get a little bit more interest with it, so it doesn't just hang down flat. And that's the actual biggest difference. But yeah, I remembered when you did get yours layered, you were like,
it came in like a lion, didn't I?
Swinging his hair around.
That was it, swooshing everywhere. Well, so Jane, tell me about this pond right at the front here. This really shaggy looking piece. I love it.
It's beautiful. Again, I loved it. Takes me right back to the 70s. My actual own hair is actually really naturally curly, just like that particular wig. And that's a model 402 from our Premium Plus collection, which is a high heat fibre. And you can actually curl them and you can straighten them. With the 402, it really comes out from the box looking quite like this. So you don't have to do that much to it if you don't want to, which is wonderful. But it just gives you, and the cut in the 70s, it was called the shag, but it is really just reminiscent of that. It looks just like it. But those soft curls just look really soft, I think. And you can take it back, you can put little clips into it, you can do all sorts of things just to actually dress it up. Because it's all about accessorising your hair as well. And I think that's a really important thing, Bradley. When you're wearing a wig, if you accessorise your hair, people don't think you're actually wearing a wig, because they don't think you're going to be able to do things like that with it. Or to actually get your wig personalised. And I think that's a big thing. Get your wig personalised when you actually buy it. Go into one of our salons, maybe have a consultation, purchase the wig from them, and then they're going to be able to personalise it just to suit you. It could be as little as just having a few little layers just tapered around the face, or just a slightly shorter fringe put into it. But it does make it all more personal, and it makes it more your hair.
That's it. I was just going to say, it makes it feel like it's
yours.
And it's very unique to you. You're never going to be able to have someone that has the exact same.
Nobody else will actually have the same.
It won't fall the same. Someone may have a very similar colour to you. It's never going to be exactly the same. Which is why you kind of can't be, a visit to a salon. I'm an advocate for buying online, because I like having things brought straight to me, so I don't have to do anything. But I think with something like this, you just really benefit from the experience of going into a salon.
I think you do. I think there's certain things. Bradley's a great online shopper. I'm not a great. I'm not a great shopper.
I've helped you.
You've helped me.
I've created a monster. Really.
Bradley's taught me quite a few things in lockdown. It's been quite good, actually. So I do buy online now, and I'm actually getting much better at it. But I'm with somebody who would always prefer to go into a shop, because I want to touch it, see what it feels like, and see what the fabric's like and everything else. But I think when it comes to hair, because it is such a personal thing, that when you're buying online, it's quite difficult in some ways, because it's okay when you're doing a repeat order because you can just, buy the same wig again. But if you're looking for a change, looking for wanting to buy a different style, a different colour, that's when it's really an advantage to pop into one of the salons so you can see what's available and see what the stylist can do for you.
Yeah.
There's all of our stylists in all of our salons, and not only our salons, but the people we actually supply as well throughout the country. So not forgetting all of our wonderful trade accounts who actually sell all of our products. They're all really highly qualified in what they do.
Yeah.
And great stylists who would be able to just actually give your wig a little tweak, which would just make all the difference for it.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
So when we think about shape and framing the face, we don't always have to work with a blow-dried out texture, do we? Or for you to have curls, to have that kind of shaggy look. Because, a lot of wigs and hair pieces are not heat styleable.
No, I mean, you've got your human hair ones, of course, which
yeah.
Fantastic, because it's just like working with our own human hair. Mm-hmm. So obviously the really, really best that you can work with. Then you've got heat resistant wigs.
Yeah.
So we're able to actually heat style them. So we've got our high heat ranges like Premium Plus, the Muse collection, and the high tech wigs from Stimulate, which again are fantastic because you can straighten them, you can curl them, and you can create those differences with them. But then when you're looking at what I would say your standard synthetic wigs, which are huge ranges throughout the company, mm-hmm. and online, a lot of wigs, there's more standard synthetic wigs than there are high heat fibre wigs and style and colour to choose from. It's those that you want to be able to work with. Mm-hmm. And a good stylist would be able to work with them. You're not going to be able to heat style them and change them, but just by following like the texture of the hair and what movement is there already. Because when we design a wig, we take quite a lot of trouble to design that wig. Each style is made to its individual pattern as well.
So it kind of is built to fall a certain way.
It's built to fall a certain way, absolutely, because there I might say
what have you got in your...
I was going to say I might have a pattern there to show you.
Okay.
But they're all made to a pattern, as if it's a dressmaking pattern, if you're making trousers or a jacket or a shirt, whichever. And they're all unique to that one particular style. So the factory know exactly where the placement of the hair has to be, where the wefts actually go. So when that wig is finished and completed, it's a completed style for us. And that's why they're called ready-to-wear wigs, really, because they basically come off, not like the conveyor belt at the end, because it's not quite like that. But when they've been finished made, they do go to a department where they're actually hand finished, ever so slightly, a few little tweaks done to them, but that's about it. And then when they actually come into the salons, it's then really down to that stylist to actually make those personalizations for the client.
Yeah.
And there's lots of hairdressers who might not sell wigs, but they've actually been trained to do that. There's a lot of people who've been trained for the charity My New Hair.
Yeah.
And that's Trevor Sorby's charity, for those of you who might not know it. And there's a whole list that you can find on the internet of salons where you can go to with your wig, and they'll be able to actually personalise it for you. So that's a really good place to look. Or you can ring our head office number and come to actually visit any of our salons as well throughout the country. Or we can actually recommend a salon close to you if you give us your postcode.
Yeah.
So there's always somewhere where you could actually go. So you're not completely on your own, and we can actually give you that advice and send you to the nearest place who could actually help to personalise your wig.
Yeah, and if you're feeling a little bit apprehensive or anxious about what you might experience when you visit one of our salons or what sort of style you'll get, a good thing I personally find to do is to go through our website and look at the different styles that we've got. So you can filter those by style, by length, by colour, get an idea of the sort of thing that you would like to go for. And if you've got an idea in mind of your dream hairstyle, for instance, find something similar, and then get that tapered, tailored, whatever you want to call it, customized when you visit.
When you actually visit the salon.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's an easy thing to actually do.
It's nice to have a preview, though. You know,
it is nice to have a preview. Have a look to see what's available, and it's probably quite confusing as well, really.
I think it can be, so
because there's so
it's
much
overwhelming,
choice.
Isn't it? So it's nice if if you have in your head a little bit that you've narrowed down of the kind of things you like before you come in.
Yeah, or just bring a picture along with, maybe how you looked before, when you had your hair, before you actually lost it, or a picture of how you would actually quite like to look.
Yeah.
And then we'd be able to find the right wig, the right style for you, and then suggest what we could actually do with it to actually frame your face a lot better, isn't it?
Exactly. So we set a little challenge for you, didn't we?
We have. So
I'm quite intrigued by this because in my mind, all I'm picturing is the Rachel with the big bouncy blow dry. So Jane has convinced me that we can work with, we'll call it a natural hair texture. It's not curly, it's not straight, but it also can't be curled and it can't be straightened because it's not a heat-resistant fibre. But we're going to give this some face framing layers, aren't we? And going with our take on this season's layered cut.
Yeah, we are. And I think.
Well, you are. I'm going to sit and just enjoy the show.
Sit and relax.
Yeah.
This is the poppy from the Lotus collection. Mm-hmm. So from our Sentu Lotus collection, it's called Poppy, and the colour is cherry rooted. So we've got a very, as you can see, just a very. Oh, Bradley's moving my head. We've got a very slight root going on, which is lovely, very natural, and then the ends actually come out ever so slightly lighter than that root area, which is quite nice. So you've got quite a lot going on with the colour. It's not too highlighted. I just think it's very, very subtle. The ends just get slightly lighter through those ends. It's got a little bit of natural wave to it as well. As we said, it's not high heat fibre, so we're not going to actually do any heat styling with it this week. But we just wanted to actually put some more layers through it. And I just wanted to work with the layers that we've actually got and that movement that we've actually got. Maybe just to encourage that movement out a little bit. Because it falls very all over the actual face. It's quite long through that area. This particular one, it does come with a lace front as well, so it looks really, really natural. So if you wanted to take the hair away, you could do. But again, if you wanted to put a really short fringe into that cut, you'd be able to as well, because you've actually got that lace front. So you've got a lot of options to begin with.
Got quite a lot to work with as well, haven't you?
Got a lot of hair there to work with, yeah. It's a nice fine texture. It's a nice density. It's not too thick. Some wigs can be really quite thick and you feel you want to be thinning them out quite a lot. But I think with this one, it's quite a nice actual density to it to work with. I'm just going to put some shorter layers through this front. So I'm going to get rid of that corner really of hair through here. And what I'm going to use to do this is just a razor. You can actually use thinning scissors. We don't recommend cutting with your normal straight edge scissors because you just get too many lines in the fibre. We use those more for actual texturizing. And I think when it comes to personalizing or cutting a wig, sometimes you might actually watch somebody doing this kind of work and it looks very random to what we're actually doing.
It does. When I watch you, it's like you just cutting into it.
It's like, does she know what she's actually doing, or is it
works, doesn't it?
It does work. Yeah, there is a reason for how we do it, because these have all been designed to their own actual pattern. You've got the style there already, so you're just enhancing it. Mm-hmm. So you need to be careful that you don't maybe take too much off.
Yeah.
Or just work quite slowly. And as you can see, I'm just pulling that hair from one side straight across so I can get the right level to the jaw level where I want those shorter layers around my face to be.
So Jane, we have a couple of messages and a question come in. So Nikki says, hey Jane and Bradley. So
Hi.
hello. Sharon says, hi Jane and Bradley. So
Hello.
hello. A question that we've had come in is actually, is it better to work with a wig that's longer or shorter that's closer to the style that I want to actually create?
Okay. What I would recommend, and I always recommend this, is think of the style you want to recreate or what you want to actually achieve, and buy the wig as close to that as possible.
Okay.
Because you've got the style there already. You don't want to actually be taking, say for instance, if you've got this one that is quite long and you say to me you want it cut up to like chin level, because of the way it's actually made, it might not actually fall properly.
Right.
So always just be mindful of that. And so select a wig close enough to style. Thank you, Bradley. My lady's jumping all over the place. Close enough to style, and then just texturize and personalize it. So you can see we're taking through the front, and I always tend to work when I'm doing this on a client as well. I do one side to begin with, and then the client can actually begin to see what they're going to look like and feel a lot more confident with what you're doing. Because your client for the first time could be sat there thinking, oh, I've just spent, X amount of pounds on a wig, and now somebody's there with a razor or a pair of scissors, and I'm not sure what it's going to actually look like. So I always start on one side, give them that little bit of confidence that they're quite happy with what you're doing, and then by the time you've actually finished the second side, they're going to be quite happy with it. As you can see, that difference already, just with those long little fringe at the front and taken up compared to the other side. I'm just going to take more of this weight out and more of this length out as well.
We've got another question here for you, Jane. It's, do you prefer to work with synthetic fibre or human hair?
Oh, it's a good question.
Come on, everyone, it's grill her.
Yeah, what does she prefer? Obviously, I love working with human hair because you can do so much with it. You can colour it. You've got, your options are limitless, really. But I think when we're actually looking at synthetic hair, again, you can do so much and you can change things and make it really quite exciting. And I think now with all the high heat fibre that we've got coming out onto the market, that is actually changing how we look at wigs altogether, really.
Yeah.
The high heat fibre is just amazing to work with. It's just like working with human hair. The biggest and only difference is you're not going to actually be able to actually colour it or change the actual colour. But apart from that, it's a really nice product to actually work with. And I think when you work with synthetic wigs as well, because they're more affordable for your client, they're going to be able to change their style a little bit more often as well.
Well, I was just going to say to you, if you choose a colour that you like at that time and you're wearing this piece every single day, if you treat it really well, what sort of wear would you say you'd get out of that?
With a synthetic wig, if you look after it well, say it's this length, the longer ones have a shorter lifespan.
Yeah.
The shorter wigs will have a slightly longer lifespan. If you're not sleeping in any wig, you're going to actually reduce your lifespan by 50%.
Yeah.
So be careful if you are actually sleeping in it. If you wanted to sleep in your wig, I would always suggest use an old one to sleep in and not your new one. But lifespan for a synthetic, you're probably looking this length 3 or 4 months, maybe a little bit longer if you look after it really well.
So you can kind of change your hair seasonally, really. Then
you could actually, yeah.
You know, you go for your warm red kind of tones in the autumn. By the time you get around to the winter, after Christmas, you change it again. In the summer, you go into your blondes. You know, you can still do that cycle.
I think you can have a real lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, when they do have to wear a wig, they don't always like to change their style. They want to actually look similar every day when they go into work, so as not to draw attention to themselves.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. But I also think if you are brave enough just to actually have those little changes as well, then it's a great way to play with your hair.
This is looking really lovely already.
You can see you've got that lovely
just spin around
softness coming around.
So you can see this lovely shape that's forming around the front.
Around there, and then completely different on that side, because that side is quite straight still, and this side is just...
It's really brought the way it pulls out.
And I think this is the thing, you have to, when you're doing it, and I think when anybody's cutting any hair, and they're cutting a wig in particularly, they will always stand back, have a little look at how that hair is falling, and how much more they need to actually take off and to actually take away as well. It's kind of almost like doing a little piece of sculpture, really, because you're just creating that shape within the actual wig that is already there.
I think of you kind of cutting a hedge.
Yeah.
When you do it, like shaping, is it
topiary? Oh, I do love doing that as well. Get my hedge trimmers out in. Have a good little fall off my 6-foot ladder whilst I'm doing it. I've done that before as well, Bradley.
Good old times.
Yeah. So I've kind of worked through that side, and I'm just going to actually come across and just work slightly to this side. So I'm just going to bring that head round slightly, and again, same as before, bringing that hair across so I can get it to the right length that I actually want for the front. And when you're using a razor, depending on how much of the fibre you're actually cutting off, you might need to actually change your blade once or maybe twice when you're doing a haircut.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really important to actually always work with a really, really sharp blade. And then you're going to get really nice, clean cuts, and you're not going to actually be damaging the fibre when you're actually cutting the hair at all. So it's just coming along quite nicely, and it's just working with what you've actually got, but it changes the wig or the style completely, so it just makes it very much more personal to yourself.
Well, I think you just really adapt how it falls around the face.
Yeah.
And that changes completely how you look.
Oh, changes it completely.
You know, there's ways to bring your features out in really, really flattering ways.
And you don't have to do anything too drastic.
No.
I mean, I'm taking quite a lot off this particular.
You're just trying to show off, that's why.
Because, you know, we're able to, aren't we?
Yeah.
And maybe a client would want you to do that. Sometimes you're only going to be nipping a small amount of hair off for them. Ooh. A spare coat, that was very handy.
Very handy.
Health and safety and all that. So I'm leaving all of this length at the bottom because I want to actually leave that length And what it's going to do is going to almost, by taking these layers shorter and taking some of the weight from it, is going to give the impression that the actual hair is longer.
Oh, really?
By putting those layers into it, it would tend to actually make it look a lot longer as well. Because it's creating more movement and more body as we go through. And you get, it's got a lot more swing.
Yeah, it does.
And a lot more bounce to it as well, which is lovely. And I think also when you cut a wig, when you texturize a wig, it also helps bring out the colour and the different colours in it. And I don't know, I mean, for me looking at this, and I'm very close to it obviously, but you can see a lot more of those different shades coming through it as well.
You can see a lot more of the golden tones on the shorter layers that you cut because of the difference where it stops above the layers below.
Yeah, so I think, just by giving it, and it's just very soft layers we're putting in.
I mean, is that a real important element of these sorts of cuts, Jane? That the layers have to be quite soft?
I think they need to be soft. You don't want anything too hard or too jagged, really. So it's all about softness and maybe putting a little bit of texture in it. As you see, I've just changed to my scissors now. And I just want to just texturize the ends of that hair. Because with the razor, you can be tempted to make it too thin on the ends. And I don't want it to be too thin on the ends, but I don't want it to be chunky either, Bradley. So now I'm just taking it through and just texturize it. And again, it's just lifting.
It really is.
That's
made all the difference already. Just that couple of inches that you've just grabbed.
It is amazing what you can do.
I mean, I can see a different angle to this wig, to the camera right now. From the front, we're getting a real high-end photo shoot looking hairstyle going up here. Looks like she's had a bit of a wind machine as well.
It's just nice, isn't it? Because
before
really it was quite flat.
Yeah.
It was long, it had that little bit of movement to it, but it was quite flat as well.
Mm.
And I think by putting some layers, a little bit of texture through that, it actually just helps to actually lift the whole wig. And when you look at that movement now through the back of there, I would say the hair actually looks longer than it did to begin with.
Yeah.
Which it obviously isn't, but it looks it. Because it's lifted all this area just here. I mean, you can go shorter with your layers as well, if you wanted to.
I love the way the hair is sweeping across the front at the moment.
It's lovely, isn't it? And, it's much easier than your own hair. Is, when you've got your own bio hair, you get up on the morning, you've got to blow dry it, you've got to straighten it or curl it. When you've got a synthetic wig, it just stays exactly as you actually want to. So it's easier. Gives you time for an extra cup of tea in bed or a morning. Always one to actually think of when you can stay in bed for an extra 10 minutes.
It is falling beautifully, and I think because it will be fixed in that position, you're just very much guaranteed to always have that kind of the layers to sit right, aren't you? Whereas, I mean, I can wake up some mornings looking like a cockatoo.
Well, don't. You should see me some mornings, yeah. And when you've got that nice little bit of movement just coming round that front, Bradley can't see that yet, but that's lovely just through that side. Again, I just want to texturise a little bit more on this.
I was actually going to ask you, Jane, if you would, products would be required to texturise this, but I actually don't think you really even need to do anything.
You don't necessarily. You could put products on. You don't necessarily need to. I think sometimes when I cut wigs, I do like to use products because it can actually bring out the layer. It can bring out the texture of the actual hair, especially when you're looking at like shorter kind of pixie cuts, Bradley.
Yeah.
But I think when you've got a slightly longer cut, you want that hair to be able to move.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily always want to actually be putting product on it to make it too stiff. I probably will finish this with just a little bit of wax, just to squeeze into those ends of the actual hair. But that's all I would probably do with this particular style.
While you finish doing the last final bits on there, Jane, because you've got about 5 minutes to go, I just want to re-announce to everybody that we have our trade show coming up on the 28th of November.
It's the
Don't join us on the 24th of November because we won't be there. But we are live, so regardless of where you're watching from in the world, you can join us if you're interested in working with wigs and hairpieces. If you're interested in joining us as a trade customer, we'd love to see you there. We've got a number of live demos that we'll be performing throughout the day. I'll be there too, won't I, Jane? So
Bradley's going to be with me all day.
Chatting away, but you can join us throughout the day at a number of different points. We'll be launching soon our full list of things we'll be doing.
Yeah, we're going to have a timetable.
Previews as well of products that are coming out.
That's very exciting.
Worth tuning in just for those. But if you would like to join us in person, if you are an existing trade customer, that's possible too. So if you just get in contact with us at info@trendco.co.uk or trade@trendco.co.uk if you are already a trade customer of ours, we will be able to provide those details for you. And then you can join us there. It'll be really exciting. It's a Sunday as well, so you can join us from whatever you're doing at home if you're just relaxing.
Yeah. Having your roast dinner, having brunch.
Yeah, leave us on in the kitchen while you're cooking. That would be nice. We also have, which I'm really excited about this one, we have our charity fashion show, which is on the 4th, not the 24th, the 4th of December. So you can join us. We're actually raising money for a number of charities that we work very closely with and very close to our hearts. We're working with Macmillan Cancer Support, the Little Princess Trust, Look Good Feel Better, Hair Reborn and Alopecia UK. So join us on the night. There's a catwalk presentation, raffle prizes. There are a number of other things going on, entertainment and some surprises as well. So
sounds fun.
That's down here in Hove. If you'd like to buy tickets, you can actually visit our website and get them on there. So it's www.trendco.co.uk. Straight on the homepage, click the big button that's there. We'll take you through and learn more about the event.
Brilliant.
So we'd love to see you there. We'll be both.
We'll both be there.
You can come and meet us.
You can come and have a chat. Come and say hi.
It's actually a meet and greet for us.
Yeah, that's what it is, really.
We are happy to sign whatever you bring. But it's going to be a great night. I've actually had the privilege of being at our London one. That was the last one we did before we went into lockdown.
Before lockdown.
And it was so much fun. We had a theme that was like all the different decades through the eras. And all the clothes that we used were from a shop called Trade in London, which is like a charity shop. I think all the proceeds.
It was fantastic though, wasn't it?
Brilliant. So all of it was kind of like vintage pieces put together with amazing wigs that we'd personalised. And
some really brave customers who actually modelled for us as well. So, and that's always great to get, customers involved who want to actually model with us as well.
But again, it's all for charity, so it's a really, really lovely night. And within your ticket price as well, you do get one free drink. So gets you started.
Come along for the evening. It'd be lovely to say hello to everybody.
Yeah, it really would. I mean, especially after so long as well, not really seeing people.
Yeah, and we've been doing these now for a year, isn't it? Just over a year. We've had our year anniversary.
We have.
So to actually see people live would actually be really quite lovely as well.
We must be approaching our 50th show or something,
probably more than that,
I would say. We'll have to find out and let everyone know next week.
Yes, on the next. 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time.
Yeah. No, you need
Is that
to
on
do
the 24th?
Will be the 24th, yeah, because I'm back live on the 22nd.
We were doing something on the 24th.
Yeah, I'm back with our trade accounts on the 22nd, and we're back together on the 24th. So yes.
Lovely.
Perfect. Okay, so I've kind of finished.
I love this.
And you can see the complete difference to what it looked before. I'll just spin her around. You've got those lovely soft waves to it now, which is just enhanced what it had before, because before it was just quite long. Didn't have an awful lot of shape to it, but it's got much more shape to it now. It is almost as if she's been in and had a really nice blow dry done by somebody. And what I actually finished it off with, and we've left it with quite a long kind of flicky fringe, which is quite nice, but if you didn't want that all over your face, you could actually go with quite a short fringe as well, and that wouldn't be a problem. And I finished it off with some Wax Blast from Redken, and it just gives it a little bit of shine, but it gives it a bit of texture and a little bit of hold as well. So that's going to actually hold and stay quite well for the client as well. And me and Bradley are both going to start coughing in a minute because of all the fumes. Try not to breathe. But yeah, I'm happy.
I really like this.
Just by putting a little bit of layer to it, putting a little bit of texture, it just makes all that difference for the wig, doesn't it? Really,
it does.
Completely different. So it just shows you what you can achieve and how much more natural you can actually make those different wigs look like as well.
Yeah.
So think about your next one and think about maybe just getting it personalised, isn't it?
And if it's your first time with considering having a synthetic piece as well, if you hop over to our website tomorrow, we've actually got Single Day celebration. So there'll be a discount on synthetic pieces tomorrow from the Renee of Paris collection. So
and do you have to prove you're single?
No. We're not going to make people do that. That's cruel. Let's not highlight that fact. So we've got Noriko, we've got Amore, High Fashion, Alexandra Couture collection, the Muse collection.
Oh, you've got everything.
All of those in that wonderful remit that you can work with and generate styles like this. So keep an eye out for tomorrow's discounts.
Brilliant.
Well, we have a question before we go. What wig is this? Could you just let us know what this started off as?
Yeah, it started off life as it was the Poppy, and that's from the Sensu Lotus collection. And the colour is cherry rooted.
I really like the colour.
The colour is lovely, and I think it's really kind of enhanced that colour.
Yeah.
Because you can see all the different shades through it. So much nicer now as well. But yeah, lovely wig. And because it's long, if you wanted to wear it up, you can, you know.
Do you know what's really nice about this is if you wear it up, you still get the layers that fall around the face. You still got that
softness all around the face, so you can do so much with it.
You can.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jane. This is our take on the layered cut that we've seen coming through. I think this looks 21. Really quite 70s.
Yes.
So you've got your influence came through there.
It did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great. Well, we'll be back on the 24th.
Yep.
And we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you both. Well, you both. From both of us, sorry.
All two viewers that we have.
No, look forward to seeing you all then, sorry. But yeah, if any of you want to come along to our charity show.
Yeah, the charity show, absolutely.
That and our trade show.
Get in touch.
It'd be really great.
If you're interested in purchasing a synthetic piece, check out the website tomorrow. There'll be a special offer.
That's really good.
There we go.
Singles Day. Perfect.
That's it, Singles Day.
Yep.
Brilliant. Cool.
Yep. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Bradley.
We'll see you soon.
See you in 2 weeks' time.